Another little light lunchtime chat here. Trying something a little bit different. Sorry about the camera. Try to work with the selfie stick a little bit. See if this reduces some of the motion sickness. I know Otto was saying, a couple other people were saying that they were having some problems last time with the camera shake, so hopefully this helps a little bit. But I'm out in a different location this time. This is one of the parks near me. Little lunchtime stroll. We are so blessed here in South Carolina. We really get amazing spring times, and it comes so quick. Like usually by February, we're seeing some pretty good weather. And near the end of March, we usually get one more little, cold snap. That's supposed to happen for us this weekend. Well, actually, I think Thursday night, which means I'm gonna have to cover up my plants. So if you guys saw the blueberry video that I did, I'm definitely gonna have to put those blankets to use. So I was working in the garden this weekend, and I saw some flowers on the lemon trees as well, which I'm pretty excited about. Now I was out in this location yesterday and I filmed some footage, like 20 minutes of footage, but I don't know, I just wasn't happy with how it came out. So I saved it. We may do something with it later on, but I figured let's come back out here today, Tuesday. And I was gonna do another one of my videos on true stories of survival, right? So today I was gonna talk about, I've lived through a couple tornadoes, and I was gonna talk a little bit about that. And if anybody joins in and you've had tornado experience, you can certainly chime in on your experiences here and kind of give you a little 360 of where I'm at. I don't think, now when I was out here yesterday, I didn't see any gators. There's some water behind me. Let me see if I can show you. I don't think there's definitely a possibility. I'm near the Ashley River, so there's definitely a possibility of gators. So I gotta kind of keep my eyes open. They usually leave people alone for the most part though. And unfortunately, it looks like there's some trash out here since yesterday. This is a park, so a lot of people come out here, but it's kind of sad that people don't take care of the property a little bit better. I'm not going to show you that trash. Take away from your joy. So while we're waiting to see if anybody jumps in here, I'll tell you, you never forget your first tornado. And that story is not as exciting as the second tornado, which is the story that I'm going to tell you today. But I will tell you the first tornado. So a lot of you know I grew up in Massachusetts, and Massachusetts, for the 33 years that I lived there, didn't get too many tornadoes. Like I think there was one warning that I can remember when I was a child, like maybe 4th grade. So what is that, like 10 years old, something like that. I remember one story where the weather was, the people on the weather were warning people that it was a possibility that Massachusetts could see tornadoes. And being that you didn't, at least at that time, you didn't see too many tornadoes in Massachusetts, people were freaking out because you kind of think of like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and that kind of a tornado. But realistically, most tornadoes are what would be like an EF0 or an EF1. This area is pretty wet. I might turn around and take you on a different path, but let me just kind of take you out here a little bit. So an EF0 or an EF1, you certainly can survive. In fact, if it hits, if you're you don't want to be in like a mobile home or something like that, they tend to tear those up pretty good. Wow, there's a ton of wild edibles out here. We're not focusing on that today though. We're not doing the wild edibles. We're talking about tornadoes. So I haven't seen some of these paths actually. So since it's dry enough that I can walk here a little bit, let me check out some of these other paths. We'll go in this direction here. So I remember like being like maybe 10 years old, and they said there was a possibility that we were going to have tornadoes. Massachusetts, they're only way too, sorry, I can't see that well. Silver Scorpion, hey, how are you doing? I might have to get a little closer there so I can see the dialogue. So I'm talking about tornadoes here, and you never forget your first tornado. And so I remember my parents, I was probably about 10 years old, and I remember my parents, talking about there's a possibility of this. A lot of homes in Massachusetts have basements, which is good. If you have tornadoes, that's a good place to be, and you want to get into the basement and get to the center part of that, away from any windows or anything like that. And I remember them asking, saying, you want to kind of have a little bag packed, kind of like, my first concept of a bug out bag. This is really cool. I've never been out to this part of the path out here. We're going to go a little bit further here, see what I can see. And them asking me about it. And of course, with my child's mind, I wanted to put like, my favorite belongings in there, not anything that was like practical, like, water or anything like that, or a whistle. That was my first tornado, and guess what? It never happened, which is what happens most of the time. You'll get the warnings that there's possibility for a tornado, and most of the time it's not going to happen, but you still want to be prepared. My second experience with a tornado was much more interesting, and that came about when I moved to Kentucky. And I had literally just moved to Kentucky and didn't know that Kentucky I was living in Lexington at the time, had an apartment. This was before I had my farm. And I didn't know that Kentucky got tornadoes. Now, it was springtime. This was my first spring in Kentucky. And I remember that the clouds, leading up to that first tornado, I was like, wow, the clouds are really different here. And, oh man. So, all right, I'm gonna show you guys what I'm seeing. So, hang on one second, I'm gonna flip the camera. All right, so you guys know I've talked before in some of my other videos about homeless camps. Looks like that's what was going on here at some point. And again, I haven't been out on this path, so this is the first time I'm seeing this. It looks like it's been abandoned for a while, but there's a person there. Definitely a lot of clothes. It looks like women's clothes actually, and some alcohol, things like that. But I don't think, and that might be like the remnants of a tent over there. But it looks like this one's been abandoned. We have a lot of houseless people here in South Carolina because it's so warm that people can live outside for a good portion of the year. And it's just one of those things, like if you like to go in the wilderness like me, you're gonna see stuff like this, and it happens more than you would think. All right, so we were in Kentucky, going back to my story, we were in Kentucky, and now, remember seeing like the cloud formations being a little bit different than what I had grown up with in Massachusetts. And like the lightning storms being like super intense, things like that. So I was with my first wife at the time. We've split up since then. And we were in a little apartment in Lexington, and my sister, one of my older sisters, had come out to visit us. She had never been through a tornado either. And that was another little path over here. You guys want to check? You want to keep going straight, or you want to go, let's go to the right. Let's go to the right. This one looks like it could be a little more interesting. It's a little buggy out here though, so if you see me like scratching, it's a lot of skeeters. So we were watching the news, and they were saying, okay, tornado watches all day long, right? Oh, there's another homeless camp out here. I don't know how far into this I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna go until it looks like I need to turn around, and I'll show you what I'm seeing. And so we're watching the news, and again, the only perspective we'd ever had up until that point was like the Wizard of Oz. Okay, you can see like there's a remnants of a kind of like a child's tent over here. We'll go a little bit further and see what we can see. Oh, you know what? That might be part of it, because that's that other camp over there. It might just be an extension of that. It might have just blown with the wind. Well, I'm gonna take you guys with me though. All right, so we're watching it, and then what happens is, if you live in Tornado Alley, you guys already know this, the news can, because of that Doppler radar, they can actually predict really well where it's going to be. So they may say, if you're on Main Street, they may say it's going to be on Main Street in about 5 minutes. Get to your shelter now. And that Doppler radar is pretty darn accurate at predicting it. And so we're watching it, and like all of a sudden it's getting closer to where we were in Lexington. And then what happens, and if you've lived through a tornado, you guys know this, you hear like a rumbling in the background, like a train. And a lot of times that's the first thing. And then you hear the rain start to pound, and it's pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding, and it gets louder and louder. And then the thunder starts to rumble a little bit. And then what will happen is, if you see the sky start to turn like a greenish black, that's bad news. That means the S is about to hit the S is about to hit the fan, and no bueno. So you really should be in a safe place at that point if you can. All right, I don't think this is, oh, there's another little path up here on the left. I'm gonna take you to the left here. Okay, so all this here, all this water that you can see through the trees there, that drains out into the Ashley River. All right, let's take you down this path here. So we're out there in Lexington, and it's getting closer and closer. And we did have, it wasn't really what I would call a basement, but there was like a, it was like halfway underneath the ground, subdwelling or whatever, as part of the apartment. And it was like underneath this, we had a staircase. It was like a 2-story apartment. So I remember them saying, hey, it's about to hit your street. We're watching it. It's getting a little interesting. And so I start telling my sister and my wife, hey, like we got to get under these stairs here. And they're just fascinated, like they're stuck in fear watching the TV. Okay. And who's that? Silver Scorpion? Hey, are there, I'm sorry, I couldn't read it. It's really hard to read outside. I'll go back and read the chat relay. I'm sorry, brother. So I said, we really need to get under these stairs, and they're frozen in fear. So what happens is when your adrenaline kicks in, you get a fight, flight, or fear or freeze response. And I was getting the flight response, and my sister and my ex-wife were getting the freeze response, and they're just glued to the TV. And so as the tornado is getting closer and closer, it's just, what happens next is you start seeing flash, 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 like non-stop, like a light show of lightning. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Let's go up here a little bit further. Okay, so let me show you a couple of things here. So down here we got some kind of animal dwelling down there. Let's not poke that and see what's in there. And there you go. Again, all that feeds into the Ashley River. And somebody's building something out here. A lot of deadfall, and it looks like they're marking that tree to take down, probably because of all the deadfall. All right. All right, let's go left. We're going to start. I wonder if they were getting ready to do a little campfire here or something. I don't know. Interesting. All right, let's go left here. I don't want to get too far out here because I do have to get back. I'm actually on a lunch break. So the lightning starts flashing, and that's when you know like it's almost there. And then the hail comes in, right? And the hail sounds like basically like your house is being hit with golf balls. It's pretty intense stuff. So, and then all of a sudden it's gone. It's like, you've got the sound of rolling train, you've got the rain coming in, you've got the green sky, and then it turns like almost like a green black. Uh-oh, is this a dead animal up here? What is this? All right, I'm not gonna keep going down there today because I just don't have time. We'll take that path another day. Okay, it looks like just dead a root. What is that? Okay, it's just a tree root. Okay, from back there it looked like it might have been a dead animal. We're gonna start working our way back this way, which I think will bring us back to that first path. So you'll get the green sky turns black, you get the hail, you'll get the flash, flash, flash to the thunder, and then it's gone. And based on what they were telling us on the Doppler radar, we were pretty sure that tornado was like right on top of us, and somehow our neighborhood didn't take any damage. It wasn't until the next day when we got the news reports that we could see that it was right upon us. And basically what happened in this I'm gonna flip the camera so you can see what I'm talking about, hang on. So what happens with a tornado sometimes is they'll hit the ground and they'll run, and then they'll lift up, and then they'll come back down sometimes and they'll run some more. And what happened was that tornado actually lifted up right over our neighborhood and then dropped back down. So everybody around us took damage, and by some miracle, it just skipped right over us, right? It just jumped up and then came back down. It did quite a bit of damage around us. If I remember correctly, that was an EF1. And like I said, you can live through an EF1. It'll do some damage. It'll tear up your roof. It might punch a hole in a wall, but most of the time you can live through an EF1. When you start talking about an EF2, higher than that, really better be in some shelter. An EF3, you better be praying. EF4 or 5, you better be praying and that you're not even in the area. In the movie Twister, they call the EF5 finger of God. And those can be miles wide, and they travel faster than a car. So the idea, I see a lot of times in the prepper forums, people will bring up things like, how do you survive a tornado? And people say, well, you outrun it. If it's an EF4 or an EF5, you're not outrunning it, I promise you. So how do you survive a tornado? Well, again, keep in mind that most of them are EF1s, most of them are EF0s, you know, so they're survivable. You definitely don't want to be, when you know that one's coming, you don't want to be in a mobile home. Those unfortunately get tore up. And the debris, the flying debris is just as dangerous as anything else. There have been times where people have been picked up, like literally lifted into the air with a tornado and survived, because I think what happens is sometimes the tornado picks you up and it's winding you, and then carries you, and then as it's unwinding, you're slowly dropped, or maybe not so slowly, but you're dropped slow enough that you can survive it, because that has happened to a lot of people. People have been deposited a mile away from where they were picked up. It's really strange. And sometimes they're just like cuts and bruises and not major damage. All right, we're gonna take a left up here, go back into the path. I'm gonna flip the camera. Probably rather see that than see me. Hang on one second. All right, so we're going back to the left here and jump back in the path. I'll show you, if time permits, I'll show you a few other things. So how do you survive this? How do you survive an EF1 or an EF0 tornado? So you're gonna be getting into the center of your house, right? You're gonna, lowest floor, you don't wanna be on the top floor, away from windows. Me and the ex-wife, and then my second wife, we always thought it'd be a smart idea to be lacing up your boots when there was tornado watches. And by the way, a watch means that there's a possibility. A warning means that a tornado has either been spotted by a person, by a trained spotter, or the Doppler radar is picking up what indicates a tornado. So if you get a warning, that means there is a tornado on the ground. So when we were in tornado season in Kentucky, what we would do is, you know, if you knew there was warnings, if you knew there was watches, you'd keep your shoes or your boots laced up, because if something happens and you have to evac the house, or you get, you know, thrown or whatever, you want to have good footwear on. Seriously, I know that sounds funny, but imagine stepping on broken glass and you don't have good footwear. I know some people who would put on football helmets and bicycle helmets to give themselves a little bit of head safety. That's not a bad idea. If it's about to hit your neighborhood, it's not a bad idea to pile blankets and pillows over you to give you some protection. And I know people will do that with their children sometimes. And what else? Me and the current wife, when we know that we don't get too many tornado warnings and watches here in Charleston, but we will tend to put a whistle in our pocket or tie it to your wrist. That way, if something happens, you can, you know, if you're buried under debris, you might be able to blow a whistle to let somebody know you're there. I've heard other people make a joke like put hot dogs in your pocket so that the rescue dogs can find you. You know, I think that's more of a joke than anything else. We always keep a flashlight on us because there's a pretty good chance you're going to lose power during a tornado. Keys in your pocket, because your vehicle keys, because if you had to get out or you're thrown out and you can't return into your home, maybe your vehicle's okay, you're going to be able to hopefully get out of there. And also, if you've got one of those remote alarms, you might be able to, hang on one second. If you got one of those remote alarms, you might be able to use that to signal for help if you were trapped under debris. Trying to think what else are good tornado tips. So I see there's a couple people watching. Do you guys have any tornado tips, or have you ever been through one? And do you remember your first tornado? Because that's how we started this, was, you never forget your first tornado. While we're talking here, I'm going to take you on a quick little walking tour here of where I'm at. Pretty cool little area. Nice place to spend my lunch. I hope everybody's doing all right. I'm going to be, tonight, I've got a video coming on around 8:30 or a few minutes before 8:30 talking about it's a challenge. It's a lunchtime foraging challenge. So you might want to check that out so I can give you the details on that. And Friday, I've got a video coming out about, it's a knife review, one of the CRKT knives. So you want to check that out. And what else do I have? That's it. I've got a couple others that are in edit right now. Let's see. Sorry guys, I am, with the sunlight, I am having such a hard time reading the dialogue. I promise you I'll go back and read all that. If you guys are watching this and you're content creators, go ahead and, I'm gonna switch the camera here for you. This actually feeds into the Ashley River. Look how pretty this is. Hey, thanks for joining. Everyday life. Okay, I see one of them. This feeds into the Ashley River. Let me show you. And this is a little boat landing we have here. So you can actually come up here with your kayak or your canoe and kind of load in. That was back in the 70s. This is a nice little area, and there's definitely some gators that live out here. I don't think we're going to see any today, though. But if you guys are content creators, thank you. Yeah, I'm lucky. I am very, very blessed that where I work, I have access to a couple different places where I can go out and spend a really nice lunch break. Hey, Lekmud, how are you doing? If you guys are content creators, go ahead and, don't be afraid to tell people about what videos you got coming up. I know I'll have to probably go back in there and edit that because there's something that goes on with the live streams where I think it prevents people from plugging their own other videos that are on that's for a different channel, and I don't know how to change that setting. All right, I'm gonna take you on one more little walk here. Bear with me. You've had a few pass real close. I'm glad you're okay. They're pretty scary. I mean, we deal with hurricanes here in South Carolina on just about at a yearly basis at this point. But I got to tell you, hurricanes are scary, but tornadoes are terrifying. And the big, big difference there is that you're fine. Thanks. Good. Glad to hear it. Sorry, the bugs are killing me. I should have put some bug spray on. The big, big difference between the hurricane and the tornado, of course, is that with a hurricane, we usually get, 5 days or so of advanced warning that like, hey, it's looking like it's going to hit Charleston. So we can actually make some decisions. Where are you? Sorry, I'm late. So I'm broadcasting from a park near Charleston, from an undisclosed location. I don't want to give out too much because it's actually pretty close to where I work, and I do need to keep some anonymity for work. I will tell you, I'm at one of the boat ramps near Charleston. I recently started movement to happen, and sorry guys, it's so hard to read this in the sunlight. All right, I'm gonna take you down a path here. I'm gonna flip the camera again in just a second. But yeah, it's not too crowded today. I think as the summertime comes in, there'll be more and more people in this spot coming down to do, take their lunch down here. There's some picnic tables, things like that. Nice little spot. All right. Your channel's all over the place. All right, I'm gonna take you on a round trip here. We'll do a little tour. This is such a cool little location. And yes, I am blessed. I know how lucky I am that I've got spots like this that I can come and turn my lunch break on. I know you guys know I talk about being an urban prepper, and I am, but we do, we do have some spots here that are, yeah, exactly. Those alligators are no joke. And I'll tell you a funny story about the alligators here too. Another true story of survival. We do see them. We do see them. And you may, in one of these videos, we might get to see one at one point. I don't know if they're out too much today, but sometimes you can tell the people who live in the South versus the tourists who come here, because the people who live down here, we know enough that if you see an alligator, to give it some space. You don't get too close to them, and the tourists will actually come up and try to take a selfie with them, which is a really bad idea, by the way. If you visit, don't do that. Video there, yeah. Sorry guys, if I don't see your comment, I will check back to it. I'm sorry. It's hard to see it. But I do want to show you this spot before we finish up today. Your dad is in a nursing home? I'm sorry to hear that. Gator nuggets, yeah. So, and I know, not that you should ever do this because you'll actually teach the gators to like to be around humans, but gators love marshmallows supposedly, and the people who try to hunt them, you know, because they need to take thin the population or whatever, that's actually one of the ways that they lure them is with marshmallows. Isn't that funny? All right, let me show you this beautiful spot out here, and then we'll start to wrap it up. So yeah, I do city prepping, and I live in a city. My city's the population is about 600,000, but we still have some nice spots like this, you know. We still have some spots where you can get away from the people and the noise a little bit. And this will get more crowded as the summer goes along, but right now it's not too bad at all. Sweet gator meat. Yeah, I've never had gator meat. I'm not really anxious to try it. I have had squirrel. I've had ostrich, had a few other things. This feeds into the Ashley River, which feeds directly into the ocean. And we got a little, in case you're wondering, I'm walking on a little boardwalk here. Really nice area, very well maintained. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of trash out here, but the Parks Department does do a pretty good job of coming out here and trying to keep it clean. I appreciate everybody spending their time with me this morning. If you're on the East Coast in the US, I know this is your lunch time. If you're on the West Coast, this might be your breakfast time. But give you just a little 360 here. Hope you're not getting motion sickness. And it is pretty out here. All right, and then this path, basically, this boardwalk is going to take me back around to the parking lot in a minute. And then I probably should head back to work. But I hope you all are having a good day. I really appreciate you for joining in. These are my stories. Oh, we have somebody. I'm not going to put them on camera because I don't have their permission, but there's actually somebody up here painting, which is really cool. I mean, it is, look at this. It is very picturesque, right? You know, it's a nice spot to come out here with your easel and do a little painting. So I hope you're all having a good day. Let me wrap it up in just a minute. I want to get past these people so I don't get them on camera. Hey guys. All right, thank you so much for joining us. Y'all having a good day today?
Yeah.
Good. Very good, very good. All right, so next live stream, I don't know when we're going to be up. Thanks for sharing. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. I hope you guys have a great Tuesday. Get out there, get outside, have some fun. Sorry for the camera shake. Have some fun. And I don't know when the next live stream will be. I'm trying to do some during my lunch breaks. My plan was to try to do them on Sunday afternoons, so that's not working out too good. I got a lot of family stuff that I got to take care of on the weekends, hopefully down the road. Keep planting your seeds, keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge. I'll see you next time.